To the south of Washington State lies a land with mountain peaks dotting the skyline, vast landscapes full of wildlife, and some of the best warm water fishing in the Northwest. Take a trip with us on this show as guest hosts Hobart Manns and fellow angler Ted Marks travel through Central Oregon and show us some of your Northwest outdoors. Funding of Northwest Outdoors is made possible in part by O'Loughlin Sports Shows. Puyallup, Portland, and the Redmond Sports Shows are proud supporters of public television throughout the Northwest. By Kershaw Knives of Portland, Oregon. Kershaw Knives continues to support outdoor programming and outdoor activities throughout the Pacific Northwest. As Mount Hood looms in the background, Northwest anglers Hobart Manns and friend Ted Marks travel down Highway 97 towards Lakeview, Oregon to fish for rainbow trout and largemouth bass. Along the way, they stop at many points of interest. The first stop is the ghost town of Shaniko, some 60 miles south of Biggs, Oregon. It has roots in Western folklore, and you can still view buildings as they were nearly 100 years ago. At the turn of the century, this part of the country was once a bustling wool shipping center of the Northwest. It wasn't until the railroad rerouted into Bend, Oregon, did the usefulness of Shaniko as a shipping center end. Many of the structures played an important role in a small prairie town. The Shaniko Hotel. Built of handmade brick with 18-inch thick walls, it opened for business in 1902. Here is City Hall with its metal tower fire bell. Shaniko's Schoolhouse. This three-room schoolhouse was built in 1901, providing education for kindergartners through high school. Each room had its own coal-burning stove. The water tower, with its gravity system that provided water to Shaniko's residents through a wood pipe system. The water was stored in two large wooden tubs fed by a local spring. Their next stop is Smith Rock State Park, near the town of Terrebonne. With its towering peaks, the 641-acre Smith Rock State Park has become a premier rock climber and hiker's paradise. Legend has it, Smith Rock received its name in 1863 when a company of soldiers stopped by and a soldier named Smith was crushed under a large falling boulder. Turning on to Highway 31 on their way to Rivers End Ranch near Lakeview, Oregon, Hobart and Ted decide to make a stop at the Summer Lake Wildlife Area to look around.
How many acres of land is in the refuge here itself?
There's about 18,500 acres here.
That's an appreciably large amount of land. How many species of wildlife or birds in particular does it support on an annual basis?
Well, throughout the year, there's close to 260 different species that'll either stop in here. About 103 of those are the residents or the breeders here.
That's neat. And I know in the wintertime, I've been down here and hunted, and it sounds like about 20 freight trains all at one time going opposite directions. And it's really an awesome sound. But in the winter, at the peak of the season, how many snow geese does this refuge support?
Snow goose numbers are pretty variable. In the recent decade, there's been as many as 80, 90,000 at one time. Bear in mind, this is a migration stop, and these birds are passing through, and there'll be one bunch after another, and it takes certain conditions to build up to those big populations.
Sounds like they all came in on the same train at times when they move around the valley.
That's right, that's right.
How does it rank in size? What is its physical properties?
The size of the area is about 18,500 acres, and that is probably the largest state-owned waterfowl area or wetland area.
Okay, we have bigger federal ones, but you are the biggest state-owned waterfowl area.
That's correct.
That's really neat. The other thing that I think is neat is that you are basically open to the public for interpretive tours on a more or less loosely fitted basis. You could drop by, stop in here, and either get information at the headquarters, or you could arrange tours.
That's right, that's right. We do quite a bit of that, kind of just interpretive or instructional type tours for school groups, birding clubs, other things like that. Each year we host an elder hostel group through the Lake County Chamber of Commerce. They come up here and we give them a tour of the area and kind of explain the activities and show them some of the birds, kind of the sights and sounds of the place.
I know that you're in kind of a remote and out of the way area, but if the public comes by and they have a few hours to get a chance to stop, it would be worthwhile.
I believe so.
What the directions are to the ranch, I'll just pull up here and run over and ask him what's going on. Hold on a sec, I'll be right back. Oh no! Oh, sucker! Oh! I've been had by the locals, this son of a gun. Funniest thing that's ever happened to me. I'll never ask another cop where to go. I've been had. After a long drive down Highway 97 and 395 yesterday, we finally arrived at Rivers End Ranch. And we've looked the place about, and we've decided that we're going to start fishing here at the conjunction where Rivers End Lake flows into the Albert Lake. And Albert Lake is wonderful from the standpoint that it's about 7 times more saline than ocean water, so the trout will all be concentrated in the area just below this falls. So we're going to go down here and try it. Ted Marks and I have been skipping school and fishing together since we were in high school. So I brought him along on this trip. We're going to have some fun. You got your gear ready, Ted?
I'm ready.
Let's go fish.
Okay.
Chosen this spot because of the waters leaving Rivers End Lake above us and cascading into Lake Albert, and the fish in Lake Albert are pretty well forced into this upper half-mile stretch of water because of the alkaline and salinity of the water in the main body of the lake. So the fish moving down are going to be more or less trapped in this area. And the tea-strained water, the staining color of the water that we have here, it's almost like that butterfly that just dropped in. This water has got a tannic or a darker color to it. So we've chosen lures appropriately also dark and of the same color, gold brown. We seem to be getting strikes on those. And this area, the foam patches collect bait and drop it. They'll trap flies, that sort of thing. This area, just on the outside edge of this eddy that we're standing on, seems to be holding all the fish, and we're trying to cast to that point. Hup, there's one. I don't know where he's at. He's got a little pull to him. Looks to be in the water here in front of us. Easy there, about 12, 14 inches. Come on, baby. What a beautiful rainbow that is. He's about 14 inches. Nice rainbow. And I know all fish are nice, but you're exceptionally handsome young man. If you'll hang still for a second, just want to go unbutton that hook, slide you over the weeds, and you're gone. The lure drops in too fast, too deep, and a flat cast, it hits the water, and you almost have to start the lure as soon as it hits the water on the spin. Seems to be what they're striking.
Some guys have got all the luck. You know, it's a crappie fisherman that has to catch a trout. We got another hookup. I caught a rock. How about that?
This isn't the ocean, Marks. No rockfish.
No rockfish, huh?
We're using spinners right at the moment, and the reason for the spinners, it gives you active, quick lure reaction. I can lay it on the surface of the water and start the lure immediately, creates a surface or slightly under surface attraction, this darker water. Fish are looking up and they're going to hammer it. And it seems to be the strikes that we're getting as soon as the lure hits the water. Within 3 or 4 seconds on the retrieve, almost all of our strikes have come in that first 10 feet of retrieve, right after the lure hits the water. If we can make a flatter cast, one that simply lays on the water and you can start your retrieve on a level basis, seems to be quicker and better hookups than it does if we throw a looping cast where it hits the water and sinks deep and you got a lot of slack line to start before you can get the lure to react. There's a lot of moss out there. Those fish apparently are laying just above or just beside those moss beds and darting up to grab the lure. So if we can lay that lure out on the water flat, let it sink maybe 6 inches on start the retrieve, you got a much better chance of getting the fish than you will if you cast in a heavy arc with a lot of slack in it. Fish on. Oh, I don't know where he's going. I don't want to lose him because he's a long ways out there like the last one. Come on, baby. Looks to be about 12, 13 inches. Get out of those weeds. Get out of those weeds. I'm going to have to walk you up the beach here a little bit. Get out of that fly patch. Come on. Come on. Come on. Good looking rainbow. See, that's that red band. This is a native species called red band rainbow. You can not only see the slash down the side of the fish, almost looks like a cutthroat. Get in there, baby. But you can also see the red, little bit of red gill mark underneath him. With these rainbow, the scarcity of these fish means that we should try and release them as unharmed as possible, turn them all back to the water. We're really not keeping any. We simply would like to catch them and turn them loose. Somebody else can enjoy them again in the future and they'll become broodstock. Maybe they'll reproduce. But there are some big red bands in here, and we know that there are fish present that have been caught in the last month or so that would go in excess of 20 inches, and some, they say, as big as 30. We haven't hooked one yet that big, but we're going to keep trying. How many times in life does one get to spend a day alone in an area like this? Here at Rivers End Ranch, we're on this body of water. Nobody's fishing over my shoulder. It's not elbow to elbow. We really have the pristine wilderness about us, and we're alone in it. And it's really kind of nice. Granted, it's a ranch, but the nearest anything to this farm is at least 2 to 3 miles away. And we're sitting here fishing a stream with no debris, no milk cartons, no nothing. When fishing high desert lakes that contain a combination of both bass and trout, we have been using with great success these lures. When fishing water that's slightly tea-stained, we're using these brown or bronze-colored rooster tails in 2 sizes, 1/4 and 3/16. We have a shyster with a brown finish blade. We're using Z-rays. You notice we have a red, green, and purple, but the black color, the darker color, predominantly is the best producer because it shows up, again, in the stained water far better. We're also using an 1/8 ounce brewer slider head in conjunction with a brown-colored ringworm from our friends at Smelly Jelly. These products are scented with bait. They smell like crawfish. This combination of lures in a lake that contains both trout and bass in stained water is the combination that will get the fish.
While fishing is the main reason visitors come to Rivers End Ranch, there are many things to see and do, like Lake County's Holstein House, located outside of Lakeview. A local hot springs with its geyser going off every 30 seconds. And of course, the ever-changing landscape of wildlife. Here's a white pelican rookery that happened to be near a side road. These pelicans seemed oblivious to the camera as they fished for dinner.
We've chosen this spot here on River's End Lake with this rocky riprap shore. The wind is out of the south. It's blowing all the surface food right up into this area. And what largemouth bass are in here have accumulated along this rock face. And as we're bringing our lures back up and over these rocks, we're getting an occasional strike and an occasional bass. But the wind's blowing all the surface food down here, and the rocks give the bass structure. Seems like a good place to be. Fish on. You stay in deep, so I kind of think it's a bass. And I don't want to see a trout jumping out there just all this short line. Back off on that drag a little. Yes, there it is. Nice little pound and a half bass. Fish up here where we can get at him. It lays out nice and pretty. Little pounder, nice one. We've seen bass in here that probably would go 3.5, and they tell us there are bigger ones. Well, we're going to turn this one loose, let him go back and become bigger. Beautiful fish, nice color, everything you could want in a largemouth. And an aggressive striker too. Let's hope that's a school out there. That was 2 casts, 2 strikes in that zone. See if we can pick another one up. Looks like it's another one of those bass, about the same size, a little bit smaller. Nice little baby largemouth bass here. We're going to turn this puppy loose. He jumped on that just as soon as it hit the water. But it's nice to see ones this size because that shows there's reproduction and going to be fish for the future. Get this hook out of you. Thank you, that was easy. And what you got here is about a 7-inch, last year's baby, next year's big bass. Largemouth, and you're beautiful. Go home and tell Big Brother. All these bugs you see around me for a change are mayflies, something I'm not the least bit afraid of. Normally, if I had this many bugs flitting around me, dropping in on me, trying to eat me, you'd be seeing me doing one of these kind of dances. But these are mayflies, so I'm not going to do that very much. And they're from nutrient-rich waters. There's just a myriad of bugs out here. We've been seeing them on the moss and everything else for the last 2 days. You've never seen so much insect life emerging in one place in one short period of time. Call it another bass right here. Well, we're calling it a day. Let's call it a night. And if we don't call it a night, we got another small bass. Followed that worm right up here to the beach and said, I think I'll take that before I go back. I realize he's small, but he'll be big one of these days. And those largemouth have got a lot of color. They're just beautiful. Really stand up, stripes, everything that they're supposed to be. We'll get him up here a little bit so we can take a look at him again. There he comes, nice and easy. Get him right out there where the old camera can see it. Put that thumb in the mouth. That'll stop him from getting that hook in me. We're going to take that hook out. There you go. Say goodnight, baby. Go tell Big Brother you're here. Hold him by the lips when you're doing that, kid. I can see a little gold flash in that tea-colored water. Oh, there he's gone again. I'm going to start crying. Or get a sharp hook. Sharp hook, okay? Bye.
What you got there, a prize stick?
Well, as all anglers know, not every cast goes where it's supposed to. And you'll end up with the usual brush and hanging back.
On next week's show, join Hobart and Ted as they continue their quest for larger fish on Rivers End Lake in southern Oregon.